On the 3rd of October 2020, Missoula International Airport in Carrington, Barrington, was alive with activity. The sprawling airport, renowned for its modern architecture and efficient operations, was a bustling hub connecting travelers to various parts of the world. That morning, the air buzzed with excitement, chatter, and the occasional announcement echoing across the terminals. Families reunited, business travelers hurried along with briefcases in hand, and tourists admired the airport's sleek design. Among the sea of faces was Brianna Jason, a 27-year-old woman with an infectious smile and a love for adventure. Brianna had spent the last 5 years living abroad, working in the fashion industry. Now, she was finally returning home to see her family, who eagerly awaited her arrival. Her bright eyes gleamed with anticipation as she thought about the long-overdue reunion. Accompanying Brianna on this journey was her childhood best friend, Sarah Thompson. Sarah had always been by Brianna's side through thick and thin. They grew up together, sharing countless memories, dreams, and secrets. When Brianna suggested they travel together, Sarah had eagerly agreed. It was an opportunity for them to reconnect after years of being apart, a chance to relive their shared past. The morning began on a cheerful note. The two friends roamed the terminals, stopping by shops to browse souvenirs and grabbing breakfast at a cozy airport cafe. They laughed over old memories and chatted about their plans for the future. Everything seemed perfect, just like old times. But as the hours passed, a subtle tension began to creep in. It started with minor irritations: Sarah's sudden impatience over waiting in line, her terse replies when Brianna tried to make conversation. Brianna noticed the change but dismissed it as pre-travel stress. Maybe she's just tired, she thought. However, as their departure time approached, Sarah's demeanor shifted further. She grew quiet, her eyes distant, as if lost in thought. Brianna, ever the optimist, tried to lighten the mood by cracking jokes, but Sarah's reactions were cold and distant. Unbeknownst to Brianna, Sarah's mind was swirling with dark thoughts and unresolved emotions that had been building for years. Despite the undercurrent of tension, Brianna remained unaware of the true depth of her friend's turmoil. She believed they were simply experiencing the occasional friction that often arises during travel. Little did she know that this seemingly ordinary day would soon take a sinister turn, one that neither she nor anyone else at Missoula International Airport could have foreseen. For Brianna, it was just another layover before reaching her final destination home. For Sarah, however, it was the moment when years of jealousy and resentment would boil over, setting the stage for an unthinkable act that would change both their lives forever. After spending the morning browsing through shops and dining at a small cafe, Sarah suggested they step outside the main terminal for some fresh air and privacy. Brianna, trusting her best friend, agreed without hesitation. They made their way toward a less frequented section of the airport, an area near a maintenance zone that was typically off-limits to passengers. The secluded spot was quiet, far removed from the bustling activity of the terminals. It offered a stark contrast to the vibrant energy inside the airport. Surveillance cameras captured the two friends walking together, Sarah appearing tense while Brianna seemed oblivious to any danger. Time passed, and as their flight's boarding time approached, Brianna was nowhere to be found. Concern grew among the airline staff when she failed to show up at the gate. Her name echoed through the public address system as airport personnel attempted to contact her. Calls to her phone went unanswered, which only heightened the anxiety. Sarah reappeared alone, her demeanor oddly detached. When asked about Brianna's whereabouts, she claimed they had parted ways after a minor argument. However, her vague responses and nervous behavior raised red flags among the staff. Several passengers who had interacted with the duo earlier noted Sarah's abrupt change in attitude. She seemed agitated and evasive when questioned, fueling suspicions. As the hours dragged on, airport security initiated a search for Brianna. They combed through terminals, lounges, and restrooms, but there was no trace of her. With each passing minute, the mystery deepened, and an unsettling atmosphere settled over the airport. Airport officials reviewed the surveillance footage and noticed that Brianna had not returned from the direction she and Sarah had gone. This prompted them to expand their search to the isolated maintenance area. The growing sense of dread was palpable as security personnel prepared for the possibility of something far worse than a simple disappearance. Passengers waiting for their flights exchanged worried whispers, while the airport's management coordinated with local law enforcement to investigate further. The once busy terminal, filled with the excitement of travel, now felt heavy with an ominous tension. Later that evening, as the last few flights of the day were boarding and the airport began to quiet down, a pair of security guards patrolling the less frequented maintenance area stumbled upon a shocking and gruesome scene. Behind a stack of large crates used for airport equipment, they found the lifeless body of Brianna Jason. Her clothes were blood-stained, and there were clear signs of a violent struggle. The discovery was both horrifying and bewildering. Nothing like this had ever happened at Missoula International Airport. The guards immediately alerted airport authorities, and within minutes, the entire area was cordoned off. Emergency responders arrived swiftly, but it was too late. Brianna had been dead for hours. Her death sent shockwaves through the airport, disrupting the usual rhythm of operations. News of the incident spread quickly, and fear gripped the passengers and staff alike. Some flights were delayed as the investigation commenced, and heightened security measures were immediately put in place. Detectives from Carrington's crime division were called in to handle the case. As they surveyed the crime scene, they noticed peculiar details. Brianna's phone was missing, and her personal belongings appeared untouched, ruling out robbery as a possible motive. The positioning of her body and the secluded location suggested that whoever had attacked her knew the layout of the airport well and had deliberately chosen a spot away from public view. Surveillance footage became the detectives' primary lead. They painstakingly reviewed hours of recordings from various cameras around the terminal. It didn't take long for them to notice something crucial. Footage showed Sarah and Brianna walking together toward the secluded maintenance area earlier that day. More disturbingly, only Sarah was seen returning to the main terminal. This revelation placed Sarah under intense scrutiny. Detectives immediately tracked her down. When questioned about Brianna's whereabouts, Sarah appeared nervous and gave conflicting statements. Her behavior raised further suspicion, prompting the detectives to dig deeper into her relationship with Brianna. Meanwhile, forensic experts examined the crime scene, collecting every possible piece of evidence. The tension at the airport was palpable as rumors swirled among passengers and staff. The once bustling Missoula International Airport had turned into a focal point of fear and speculation. As investigators pieced together the timeline of events, it became increasingly evident that Sarah held the key to unlocking the mystery behind Brianna's tragic death. The stage was set for a chilling and complex investigation, one that would expose dark secrets and hidden resentments lurking beneath the surface of their seemingly close friendship. With the discovery of Brianna's body, the investigation turned its full focus on Sarah Thompson. Initially, Sarah maintained her innocence, claiming she had parted ways with Brianna shortly after they left the main terminal. Her demeanor, however, raised red flags. Detectives noticed how her responses lacked emotion, and her account of events grew more erratic under scrutiny. Detective Laura Hughes, leading the investigation, pressed Sarah on the inconsistencies in her story. "You said you left her near the cafe, yet surveillance shows you heading toward the maintenance area together. Care to explain that?" Sarah hesitated, her composure beginning to crack under the weight of mounting evidence. After hours of relentless questioning, the pressure became too much for Sarah. Her calm faculties shattered, and she broke down, confessing to the crime in a cold, detached manner. "I didn't plan it, at least not at first," she mumbled. "But I couldn't stand it anymore. Her perfect life, her endless success. It wasn't fair." As investigators dug deeper into Sarah's past, a troubling narrative began to emerge. Friends and acquaintances described Sarah as someone who had always lived in Brianna's shadow. Despite her outwardly cheerful demeanor, Sarah had privately struggled with feelings of inadequacy. Brianna's achievements, her thriving career abroad, her loving family, and her seemingly perfect life had been a constant source of envy for Sarah. Further evidence uncovered by detectives painted a clearer picture of premeditation. Sarah had concealed a knife in her handbag, indicating that she had prepared for a potential confrontation. Analysis of Sarah's online activity revealed searches related to airport security loopholes and secluded areas within large public spaces, details that added to the chilling realization that the murder had been planned. Despite her confession, Sarah's defense team attempted to argue that she was suffering from severe mental health issues, hoping to lessen her sentence. They presented a narrative of a woman pushed to the brink by years of suppressed emotions and psychological strain. However, the prosecution remained firm, emphasizing that Sarah had acted with clear intent and premeditation. Detective Hughes later reflected on the case, remarking on the tragic irony of the situation. They were best friends, inseparable, according to everyone we spoke to. And yet, beneath the surface, there was this deep-seated resentment. It's a stark reminder that you never truly know what someone might be hiding. The revelation of Sarah's dark motivations sent shockwaves through those who knew her. Many struggled to reconcile the image of the cheerful, outgoing friend they thought they knew with the person who had committed such a heinous act. It left Brianna's loved ones grappling with both grief and betrayal, knowing that someone so close to her had been responsible for her untimely death. As the trial loomed, the case garnered widespread media attention, with reporters delving into every aspect of the two friends' lives. The unfolding story captivated the public, not just because of the brutal nature of the crime, but because of the underlying themes of envy, betrayal, and hidden darkness lurking beneath a seemingly normal friendship. The aftermath of the brutal crime reverberated throughout the community, leaving an indelible scar on everyone involved. Sarah's trial was nothing short of a media spectacle, drawing national attention as the details of the crime unfolded in the courtroom. With every witness testimony, the depth of the betrayal became more evident, and the truth of Sarah's calculated actions was slowly revealed. Her demeanor in the courtroom was chilling, stoic, almost detached, as if the weight of the consequences hadn't fully sunk in. Sarah was charged with first-degree murder. The case was so complex and emotionally charged that it left even the most seasoned legal experts in disbelief. The evidence against Sarah was overwhelming, with her confession, the forensic evidence, and the chilling details of her plot all pointing to her guilt. Despite her defense team's attempts to argue for lesser charges, the jury found Sarah guilty. The judge sentenced her to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, acknowledging the heinous nature of her crime and the devastating impact it had on Brianna's family. For Brianna's parents, the trial was a painful, relentless journey through their grief. The loss of their daughter was unimaginable, but the revelation that her death was the result of a betrayal by someone she considered a close friend only deepened the wound. They attended every day of the trial, their faces etched with sorrow, their hearts heavy with the weight of the betrayal. After the verdict, they spoke to the media, urging parents and friends to recognize the dangers of unresolved emotional turmoil and jealousy in relationships. They hoped that Brianna's death would not be in vain and that her tragic end would serve as a wake-up call for others. Missoula Airport, once a bustling and vibrant hub, was forever changed by the tragedy. The crime had not only shocked the community but also disrupted the once secure and peaceful environment that passengers and workers alike had taken for granted. The airport's management, recognizing the need to rebuild trust and ensure safety, embarked on an extensive overhaul of its security protocols. Surveillance systems were upgraded, more stringent checks were put in place, and airport staff underwent additional training to spot signs of potential conflict or danger. The goal was to create an atmosphere where such a horrifying incident could never happen again. In the wake of the tragedy, a memorial was erected at the airport in Brianna's honor. It was a somber reminder of her life, her dreams, and the senseless violence that had taken it from her. The memorial featured a bronze plaque with her name and a dedication to her memory. It became a place where people came to reflect, to mourn, and to pay their respects. For Brianna's family, it provided a small measure of comfort, place to remember their daughter and the bright future she would never get to have. As time passed, the emotional scars of the tragedy remained, but the lessons learned from Brianna's death began to shape the community in profound ways. The incident was a tragic reminder of how unchecked emotions, jealousy, and resentment can lead to irreversible consequences. It underscored the need for individuals to address their feelings openly and honestly before they spiral into something far darker. The devastating loss of Brianna highlighted the fragility of life and the importance of maintaining trust in relationships. Sarah's actions left behind more than just a destroyed life. They cast a long, dark shadow over all those who had known her and Brianna. While Sarah was behind bars, the emotional and psychological damage lingered, forever altering the course of lives in the small town and at Amazula Airport. The incident served as a somber warning, one that would be passed down through generations as a testament to the unpredictable, sometimes catastrophic consequences of unresolved emotional turmoil. What lessons do you think society can learn from this case? How can we better support individuals who may be struggling with hidden emotional turmoil? Share your thoughts below. If you found this story compelling, please consider sharing it to spread awareness about the importance of mental health and the dangers of unresolved resentment.